Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Midday Due Diligence. I'm Stevie J. Camber out today. Bummer. So, flying solo, but that's going to be okay. We're going to have a good time. Wish I had a really cool drop sound for you that had some really neat reference to my name, but I don't, and that's okay. But we're still going to have a great time here talking about the Dallas Cowboys and, of course, their big win over the Detroit Lions. Yeah, big game, even though, Detroit sitting there at a lowly 1-5 now, just hanging out by themselves at the bottom of the cellar, but not a bad team. As a matter of fact, I think that some of the things that they did early on in the season proved that they're actually a pretty decent team. They're just one of those squads that hangs around and eventually just gets beat by this or that, by being young. Coaching, a lot of people are giving Dan Campbell a lot of credit for being an almost guy. Man, they really just nearly, and Dan Campbell is doing a great job. And I think he is. I think he is doing a good job. However, the Dallas Cowboys doing a little bit better job. And of course, Dak Prescott is back. How about that? Dak Prescott is back. Did he put up gaudy numbers? No. But was the second half incredible? Yes. Were there some things that had his teammates helped him out a little bit? Could he have been better? Would we have thought that maybe he had a better game if the teammates had done the things? Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to talk about Dak in the first half versus Dak in the second half. The first thing that takes place in this game is play action, rollout, which, by the way, I think that it was Brian Broaddus, perhaps, who said that was exactly the first play that they were going to run. All right? You want to get Dak comfortable. You want Dak to do something that's easy, simple. The only problem is you rolled him left instead of right. He might be a little bit more comfortable rolling to his right. If you saw the dot to CD Lamb, then you know he's pretty comfortable rolling right. Rolling to his left, fires it off to Noah Brown, and, well, yeah, little bit off target. Catchable, though. That's the part that hurts. Catchable. As a matter of fact, Noah Brown had a touchdown from Cooper Rush earlier in the season that was a similar ball. Similar. Right around the same area, catch radius-wise. And he comes down with that one in the end zone for 6. It was his first touchdown of his career. It was a phenomenal catch. And Noah Brown has been very serviceable. We appreciate Noah Brown. But perhaps he should have brought this one down too. Maybe he should have pulled this ball down as well. Help your quarterback out. Could the throw have been better? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Throw could have been better. Bring it down, lead a little bit more. But it was still an easier ball than the one-handed grab in the back of the end zone that ended up being incomplete last week. And it was a better ball than the touchdown he caught from Cooper Rush. That's not a Cooper Rush knock. Don't hear the name Cooper Rush and go berserk, please. It's not a Cooper Rush knock. It's just saying, help your quarterback out. Now, beyond that, Dak pressed a little bit, which I kind of expected. I kind of thought would be the case. But what really bothered me about those 2nd and 20, 3rd and 20, and this is kind of the throw that everybody had an issue with, throwing downfield, trying to get a big chunk, and threw into double coverage. Not a great decision. Probably shouldn't have thrown it. Don't love the situation he was put in. False start, 1st and 15. All right. Pre-snap penalties were a little bit of an issue. But again, we're talking first half and second half for a reason. What's going on, man? Hope your Tuesday is fantastic. Hope your midday is just awesome. But anyway, so the things we were talking about. 1st and 15. They go to Zeke on the next play on 1st and 15. 2 yards, 2nd and 13. That's tough. All right. 2nd and 13, they throw a screen to Peyton Hendershot, which this team loves to throw screens to tight ends. And they're not very successful at it. They're not very good at it, but they keep on keeping on. I don't know why. Peyton Hendershot's probably your best running tight end. So at least it makes sense on that front. But on 2nd and 13, I just don't love that. I just don't love it. So it sets him back because there was a block in the back call. And now it's 2nd and 20. And Dak starts trying to force it down the field and throws into double coverage. Luckily, nothing came of it. It was incomplete, punted away. All right, that's fine. That's totally fine. First half did not look great, but I must say that between the first drop by Noah Brown, you also had the Michael Gallup drop, which ended up being irrelevant because your quarterback, Dak Prescott, immediately after that goes to CeeDee Lamb. They pick up a big first down. And then it was the Noah Brown fumble inside the 5 that I think really actually hurt Dak Prescott as far as like numbers go. And it's all perception. It's all perception. You got to remember that. Because if Noah Brown hangs on to the football and then they punch it in, suddenly this offense is struggling, probably turns into, hey, this offense is pretty good. Look at that. Dak's back rather quickly. He threw a really good ball to Noah Brown. And the ball was never touched, never tipped, never, there wasn't the helmet on it or, punched out or anything like that. Noah Brown just dropped it midair while his head was over his heels. And that's not something you can do, especially when you're trying to make up for not helping your quarterback out early in the ball game. So a rough outing for a guy who otherwise had been pretty consistent this season, Noah Brown. We are happy with the job that he's done. He's actually kind of like the Cooper Rush of our receiving group, if you will. Michael Gallup's back. They're starting to see a little bit. I don't know. I haven't gotten the snap count yet, but I feel like I saw more Turpin in with the group. Now, not necessarily plays run for him, but if I'm correct, and he is getting more snaps, which we're talking more than 3 to 5 over the first month of the season. So more snaps doesn't necessarily mean that he's getting a ton of snaps, right? But what it does mean is they see the threat that he can be, that he can pose, and that's something they want the defenses to do. But it also means you're taking a guy off the field. More 12 personnel, that means you're taking a guy off the field. And that guy is Noah Brown that comes off the field because you're not going to go CeeDee Lamb. You're not going to go Michael Gallup. You need those guys on the field. So I really feel as if Noah Brown is kind of the Cooper Rush of this wide receiving core. Thank you for your service. We appreciate it. Maybe the fact that he's a down the depth chart wide receiver, 6th round pick, just now kind of getting around to being an actual receiving threat. Maybe the other side of that is starting to rear its ugly head, a la Cooper Rush. At first, it was nice. We could operate with this. We could work with this for sure. Absolutely. But the longer a guy is out there and plays that maybe isn't the top tier, maybe isn't the actual starting caliber like a Cooper Rush, like a Noah Brown, they start to have the oopsie daisies. They start to show why they were an undrafted guy or the backup or a 6th round pick. So Dak comes back, and in the second half, the Dallas Cowboys really start operating well. Dak Prescott, 10 out of 11 passing, 134 passer rating in the second half, ended up with a 113 passer rating, I believe it was. That's pretty good. Now, passer rating doesn't tell the whole story. You run a reverse pass and the guy completes it for 25 yards and a first down, and you see in the column it's 1 for 1, 25 yards, 149 passer rating. So it doesn't necessarily mean just a whole heck of a lot. But it's a larger sample size, 25 passes. He had a good second half. He had a very good second half. Certainly aided by the run game. which was massive. The run game was spectacular for the Dallas Cowboys, 140 yards. And if you take out the kneel downs, which I do, take out the kneel downs, you're looking at a 4.7 yards per carry average. It's pretty good. It's not bad. So, with that said, all in all, as far as Dak Prescott goes in his first game back, you can call it rust in the first half. Sure. Should he have hit Noah Brown a little more accurately, bring that ball down a little bit? Yeah, sure. Yeah, you could say that, and I think it's fair. But the second half, it was the first time the Dallas Cowboys have scored 3 touchdowns in a game offensively this season. And they did it in one half of football. All of them were in the second half. One half of football in the second half. So, that's pretty good. That's reason to be enthused. That's reason to be happy about the direction of this team, is the way they played in the second half versus the first half. Let's see. One thing that's stuck in my craw. Oh, where'd it go? Okay. Trying to get Diggs and overturn. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure why Tony Romo was so fixated on that interception. I don't know. I mean, it's not above questioning. I mean, certainly you can look at that play and go, well, why, what did New York see? Why didn't they send it down to the field and have the officials look at it? Like, you can ask those questions, but you got to move on. You don't spend a whole drive just talking about was it an interception? Just complaining. You sound like you're just complaining at this point. I got a sick kitty having a sneezing fit right now, in case y'all were wondering what that noise in the background is. It's my sweet little shooty. It's my little shooty, baby. Oh. You hear all those sneezes. Yeah, she's very, very shooty. Snooty shooty is what I call her. Okay, let's do some star up on offense and on defense. You poor thing. You got it? No, she doesn't got it. That's a lot. Good grief, baby. We're back to Dallas Cowboys football. I'm just concerned about my child over here. Okay, that's all. So, star up on offense. This is interesting because Dak Prescott had a great second half. He really had a good second half. He really did. Like I said, 10 out of 11, 134. But I think that we're going to split this between the 2 running backs. I think I'm going to have to give it to Zeke and Pollard. Because in the second half, part of the reason why Dak Prescott had a little bit more success is because that running game disrupts what every defense is going to want to do against the Dallas Cowboys. We all know the formula by now. We know what they're doing to us by now. We know what they do to that defense by now. Rush 4, drop 7. Shell coverage. Make Dak Prescott make a decision. Get home with 4. If you can get home with 4, then they feel that's a recipe for success. What's interesting about that is if you saw that pass to Dalton Schultz, the one that he dropped in right over the defender's shoulder, it's man coverage. They're riding with him up the seam. And when Dak identifies man coverage, he's going to eat you alive. That's why so many teams are dropping 7 into a zone. Because they don't believe, not necessarily Dak, but they don't believe that Kellen Moore has adjusted. Well, in the second half, Kellen Moore did adjust. And that's kudos to him. Up and down game for Kellen Moore. I think in large part, he had a decent game. There were just too many times in this ball game where you got to stop starting the play so far behind the sticks on 3rd and short. when you're constantly having success picking up the first down with A and B gap runs. That's essentially where they were most successful, picking up short yardage. A and B gap runs, Zeke, Pollard, didn't really matter. Where they don't have as much success, I think they've hit it once or twice this season, despite the dozen of attempts, which is not a very good success rate, is 3rd and 1, deep pitch to Tony Pollard. Now, I don't mind handing the ball off to Tony Pollard by any means. I think that you can't lose. On 3rd and 1, Zeke, Pollard, doesn't matter. You can't lose. You can win with either of those guys on 3rd and 1. What I don't like is when the 3rd and 1 starts pitched 5 to 6 yards deep in the backfield, and suddenly this 3rd and 1 turns into I have to run 20 yards to try to pick up this 1 yard. Quickest point from A to B is a straight line. Are they suspecting it? Yeah, sure, probably, but you were successful with it every time. Every time. The Tony Pollard pitch ended up being a 2-3 yard loss. The CeeDee Lamb reverse, again, ended up being a 7-yard loss. I think they hit it once. I do think they hit the reverse once for a modest, decent gain with CeeDee Lamb last week against the Eagles. Otherwise, that reverse has been a disaster every single time. Every time. And I don't mind going, I don't mind stretching, C-gaps and beyond. I don't mind that at all. Just perhaps not there. Perhaps not on 3rd and 1. If you're not going to just run it A-B gap, what you could do is play action, which is what they ended up doing on their final drive. And they did a great job here. Look, here's part of the formula. Here's what you want to do. You want to line up. You get lined up. You run a play. You line up later on in the game, same formation. Give them the exact same look, and you do something different. That way they're thinking. Offense's biggest advantage is always, we know the play, you don't. We're proactive, you're reactive. That's why you play defense. So they line up in that wing offense, which I love, by the way. I'm a huge fan of running a wing offense with the personnel that the Dallas Cowboys have. All right, Tony Pollard as your wing back, and then Zeke as your fullback, and you've got tight ends out there. You can add extra linemen if you want. I absolutely love that they have some wing offense in the playbook. I love it. I absolutely love it. They scored out of it twice, once on the dive with Zeke, then the other, play action. You hit Hendershot, which, by the way, rookie tight ends with touchdowns in back-to-back games now. Ferguson got his first last week. Hendershot got his first this week. So the tandem of Pollard and Zeke, that's my guys. That's my star up on offense. I thought that those two were outstanding. Some rough, rugged running. Did a great job. Defensively, I mean, Micah Parsons had a really good game. You ever heard that before? Micah Parsons, pretty good ball player. It's not bad. I mean, at this point, it's almost like, okay, who else though? You know what I mean? Like, choose your second place. It's kind of like not giving Kobe Bryant the MVP when he scored 35 points per game and they went on to win a title. And we're like, we'll just give it to Steve Nash. I know he's second, but the rest really wasn't fair. We're getting to that point with who's your star up on defense, which is bizarre because there's a lot of guys playing really well on defense right now. Micah Parsons is just in a whole other stratosphere. That's the only difference. So I'm going to go DeMarcus Lawrence in this game. DeMarcus Lawrence displayed run-stopping abilities that, holy cow. I've always known DeMarcus Lawrence is a very good run-stopping edge player. Everybody should know that. Like, if anyone even attempts to say anything otherwise, they they just don't know the game. Either that or they're just saying things that they themselves honestly don't believe. All right? So here's the thing. DeMarcus Lawrence might be the best run-stopping edge in football, in all of football. Is he the best pass-rushing edge in all of football? Well, no. No. Top 10 to 15? That's fair. And it's also great to have two top 10 to 15 players on the edge. DeMarcus Lawrence and, of course, Micah Parsons is top 3 at worst, if not the best. But DeMarcus Lawrence against the run, I mean, some of this on the goal line where, Micah Parsons saves a touchdown, and then DeMarcus Lawrence comes up and gets the strip on the ball carrier. Watch that play. Go back and watch him just pinball through defenders. Just bing, 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 bing. And then get to the ball carrier and take the ball away. Anthony Barr jumps on it. Dallas Cowboys football. The threat is over. Now, what I don't like about that is calling it luck. Sometimes it does require a little bit of luck. What was luck was the first fumble that Detroit had, where Donovan Wilson decides to WWE just arm over, like suplex, like just a beautiful, beautiful move, just a grown man move. And the guy kicks the ball out of the ball carrier's hand, kicks the ball out of his own teammates' hands. Like that, there's some luck there. There's absolutely some luck there. But what DeMarcus Lawrence did on the goal line, that's not luck. That's a guy making a play. And if you don't believe me, go back and watch it. That's a guy making a play. DeMarcus Lawrence was tremendous. Trayvon Diggs was tremendous. They didn't even really try him. And the one time that they did, Jared Goff badly underthrew the ball. And it was an interception. It actually kind of reminded me of one of Cooper Rush's interceptions last week, the last one to Diggs. Just a kind of the last one to CeeDee Lamb, excuse me. So I'm really happy with how the defense is playing. What was that? I saw quietly Dorrance Armstrong has 6 sacks. I'm curious if that holds up. One of those sacks might turn into a half, because the one they gave him a sack on, it seemed like Micah Parsons might have also reached up there. I don't care. I mean, they made a play together and the guy went down and the Cowboys get the football. That's all I care about. Both of them made a play. Dorrance Armstrong playing awesome, playing some really good football out there. And a lot of it is whenever he's, twisting, stunting. One-on-one, maybe he's not winning as much. But when you ask him to twist or stunt, he's got great timing. That's what he's got. He's got really good timing. So does that bring Dorrance to 6 sacks? That's pretty awesome. That'd be a career high already. We're not even midway through the season. And also, Armstrong's going to get more reps rushing the passer because his whole, he's not going to be a situational guy. They like Micah Parsons when it's like, okay, we anticipate that they're going to throw here and we want him to get after. And they may run sometimes, but Dorrance, like, this is your spot. This is where you're at. Parsons, as we know, they move him all over the field. Though, that's interesting. Any idea what we gave up, Professor O? Thank you for the update. Such a good man. If you guys aren't following the professor, then you're just not ready to learn about football, because he'll teach you. He'll teach you a thing or two. They signed a cornerback. Yes, they did. I don't know if that corner is the Sheffield guy from Atlanta. I think they would like Deron Bland to take that. I think Sheffield is now the guy further back. I don't know that. They signed him to their practice squad. I don't know. But I would like to think that Bland, and then here's where I'm at with the corners. Anthony Brown is not playing well on the outside. He's just not. Now, they're throwing at him more because they're not throwing at Trayvon Diggs. Remember that narrative over the offseason? Everybody's throwing at Trayvon Diggs because he's terrible. He's a terrible corner. That's why they're throwing at him. Really? Because he had like 4 more targets than Jalen Ramsey. It's like 6 of the top 10 targeted corners last year were Pro Bowlers. Turns out quarterbacks just want to target their favorite receiver. Isn't that crazy? But in this instance, Trayvon Diggs is staying on the right side, whereas Anthony Brown is staying on the left side. No one's following anybody unless it's into the slot or outside, whatever. All right. But Anthony Brown is not holding up, and he's not having quite the year that he had a season ago. He was really good last year, with the exception of 2 or 3 games. He was really good. This year, it's not going well. It's really not. But he also plays the slot. And I got to wonder, are you maximizing your potential by moving Anthony Brown into the slot and trying out either Kelvin Joseph or Nahshon Wright on the outside? Remember, Nahshon Wright was the 6'3", 6'4", long wingspan, top 100 pick number 99, the Dan Quinn guy. Neither him or Kelvin Joseph have taken the steps necessary. Second, third round pick, year 2, you're looking at approaching midway through year 2. One of those guys I would like to see be able to get on the field. And they're doing well on special teams. Kelvin Joseph is balling on special teams. I mean, he is earning his way through special teams with Bone Fossil. That's great. But he's also a second-round pick. And a second-round pick can't just be a special teams guy. You need more out of him than just that. So I'm interested to see how they shuffle that. Yes, Deron Bland, they want inside. They do like him inside. That was the reason they got him, and he's made plays already inside. But I got to wonder if, once again, the more down the depth chart guys play, and especially rookies, the more teams go, oh, well, he really is not familiar with this yet. Or, man, he's really not good at this yet. So you might want a more veteran player to get large amounts. So when Bland filled in, we're talking about a short stint. And that's good. He did a great job. Came up with a turnover, as a matter of fact. He did a great job. But you're looking at the rest of the season, and that's the difference. Instead of 2 quarters, a half of football, you're looking at 10 more games. So it's a little bit different with the cornerback situation when you're asking a guy to fill in short term versus long term. You probably want to go with a more veteran guy. The only problem is Kelvin Joseph isn't really a veteran guy. Nahshon Wright's not really a veteran guy. Anthony Brown is. Do you move him inside and take your chances on one of those 2021 draft picks? Maybe. Or do they plan on the Sheffield guy playing? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see on that. Now, that breaking, I'm going to put it back up here, and thank you again, Professor O, for informing me. It's just great due diligence on his part. Jonathan Hankins, a guy, I believe, an Ohio State guy. Let me make sure. The immediate says American football player, which I do believe. Yes, Ohio State. All right. So I've got, 340 pounds. That's either great or not great. I'm not entirely sure. That's either really good or not good at all. I want to know how the guy stops the run. That's what he's here for. 340 pounds, he's not rushing the passer. All right. That ain't going to be his job. So they lost John Ridgeway because Jerry Jones wanted to play his game, wanted to play the when's Dak coming back. Oh, are you getting Cooper Rush or do you got to prepare for Dak Prescott? All right. That was kind of dumb. Wasn't really worth it. That's what they did. That's the direction they went. Wasn't a great plan. So you lose John Ridgeway. I'm okay with that, actually. I mean, if you don't have to let him go, I don't like that you did. You didn't have to. That's the issue I take with it. But there's a lot of John Ridgways out there. There's a lot of John Ridgways out there. Otherwise, you brought in a 340-pound defensive tackle. We've been asking for a rather large fella to stick there in the middle, and they now have one. That does not mean that he is a great player, and I don't know enough about Jonathan Hankins to say whether or not this is a great pickup. We don't know what they traded, what they gave up. We do know that Neville Gallimore was a healthy scratch this past week. We do know that they've been disappointed in his run-stopping ability. He was putting weight on and was supposed to be that guy to fill in the middle, and it hasn't happened. Quentin Bohanna and Osa Odigizua have been your best run-stopping defensive tackles, and even that isn't entirely excellent all the time. Does Jonathan Hankins help that? Just on first appearance, just on looking at the size, it certainly seems like they're making the attempt at stopping the run. That's great. And of course, he'll have the Bears, probably won't play in the Bears game, and then you get the bye, get him up to speed. I just don't know about the player enough right now. We'll find out more. We certainly will. All right, so let's get back to the game against the Lions because we were talking about the defense, right? So Micah, D-Law, and Diggs dominated this ball game. Those three guys were just unreal. Osa Odigizua had a good game. Anthony Barr was up and down. He's been up and down all season, more down. And I got to wonder if with Damone Clark coming in, how much life does Anthony Barr have left as an active Dallas Cowboy? That's curious. Because he's had good moments. Recovering that fumble is a good moment. He's had a pass breakup or two. He's had good moments. It's just the totality, the body of work in a game is kind of rough. So I wonder, this could be interesting. The Dallas Cowboys love the cavalry arriving. They love to set things up to where it's kind of like, all of a sudden in week 4 or week 5, the calendar turns over and we've got just a gang of dudes showing back up from injury. The cavalry arrives. It happens often with this team. So now, after your bye, I got to wonder if you'll be looking at, obviously, Dak Prescott has returned, but Jonathan Hankins added to this team. Damone Clark could be seeing more time as well. That's interesting. That's curious. Yeah, Neville Gallimore had a wrist injury, but I don't believe that I don't think that had anything to do with him being inactive. I think they just didn't like him against the run. And, of course, Detroit runs the ball very well. They didn't Sunday, and hopefully that's a sign of improvement. Hopefully, but we'll have to see. All right. With that, we can talk about this Bears game a little bit. I want to talk about this Bears game a little bit. Then we're hopping off. Let's see. So we got the damage done. Here we go. 2023 6th round pick. and got a pick back for 2024 and Hankins. Okay. So Jonathan Hankins, he's a little bit of an older player. Looks like he's about 30 years old. Maybe a guy who in his age has fallen out of favor. Maybe they have some younger dudes out there that they like a little bit more. I don't know. But right now, he's only playing. His snap count went from 48% in week 3 to 30% in week 4. Did not play week 5 or 6, and I'm not sure if the Raiders had a bye in there or not. I don't know. And then 18%, 12 snaps on defense this past week. Interesting. What I'm going to do is take the largest snap count. I'm going to take a look at the Tennessee Titans, where he played 48% of the time. And the Titans like to run the football, of course, because they have this fella named Derrick Henry who is just superhuman. That's all he is, just superhuman. And kind of see what kind of day he had if my computer allows it. So let's see. Derrick Henry that day had 20 carries for 85 yards and a touchdown. Pretty ho-hum day for him. And that doesn't necessarily mean that Hankins was the one who stopped him, but he didn't go crazy. So Hankins maybe didn't just have a terrible day. I don't know. That's interesting. I'm happy they made a move. It didn't cost them anything. This is a Dallas Cowboys way of doing things. I'm telling you, they swapped picks, 2023 6th rounder, 2024 7th rounder, and got Hankins as well. So I got to wonder if they're done. It makes me wonder if they're done because, again, Gallimore was inactive. You bring a guy aboard, and you also have Damone Clark coming. You lose Jordan Lewis. You've got corners that are also inactive, like Nahshon Wright. So what are they going to do? I would anticipate that the Bears would like to run the football because the Dallas Cowboys have an incredible pass rush. And Jordan Fields, in his young state and liking to run around, by all means, young man, use your athleticism. Go for it. But he runs into a lot of sacks. And David Montgomery's not a bad running back. It's not a bad back at all. So you might be looking to beef up that defensive line in the run game with Hankins against the Bears if he plays. It's hard to just plug and play with a different team. I say that unless you're a nose tackle who pretty much your job is to just eat up space. Just be big out there. Hey, go out there and be 340 pounds with good pad level, preferably. So we'll see. We'll see what kind of impact Jonathan Hankins has in the first game as a Dallas Cowboy. But that's interesting. They did make a move for a very large defensive tackle. We've wanted that for so long. I mean, their defensive tackles right now, Oso Odigizua, I don't think he's 300 pounds. I think he's like 290. Chauncey Golston, I know isn't 300 pounds, but he's around 290. But those are small defensive tackles. Golston's pretty good run defender, though. Happy about his play sparingly, even though it's still good. Still good run defense from him. So we'll be interested to see how that goes. All right, I'm hopping off. I'm getting out of here. Oh, by the way, James Washington should be coming back here in a month-ish, maybe. More moves. More cavalry. Told you, they love the cavalry. They do a pretty good job of keeping their guys healthy, too. Hats off to Mike McCarthy. He does a good job of that. So there you go, guys. That's your midday due diligence. Very pleased with Dak Prescott in the second half. Very pleased with Kellen Moore in the second half, with the exception of like those deep tosses, deep reverses. Brother, it's 3rd and 1. Just go get it. That's all you got to do. You ain't got to throw the ball 6 yards behind the line of scrimmage and run 20 yards to get one. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. And otherwise, you got Jonathan Hankins coming in. He's going to play. I think he's going to play. We'll see. All right. Bears, Cowboys coming up Sunday. Check it out. Thank you guys very much. We'll see you.